Good morning, good evening, anytime that you're in. Welcome back to the second episode of Theatre's Hidden Helper, Autism, Musicals, and Me. I have a new microphone to do podcast recording with, which is much more crisp and nicer to use. It's also very loud, and it picks up from any direction, so if I move around the mic like this, it doesn't do anything. It's a Behringer and it's amazing. Without further ado, we're going to be talking today about mostly usual autism life. A little bit of a change because we'll usually be talking about how it goes into musical theatre, but I think it's nice to just look at how autism is for me in real life and how it affects me on a daily basis. One thing that I will mention though is that I will be getting into some things that will apply to you even if you don't have musical theatre, like anxiety, PTSD, stuff like that don't really help on the side, but I've learned to cope with them partially. But yeah, other than that, let's set the stage, light the lights, and open the curtain on a new week. So, welcome back. So as I said beforehand, today we're going to be looking a little bit more on musical theatre life, because as you can see by the title is Anybody Have a Map? From Dory Van Hansen, because we're going to be talking about ways that I start the day, things that help me during the day, because that song is all really about two people trying to help their son along, and that is a bit of a clue when I say that they're both mothers singing that song, to whom my special guest is later on after the intermission, in the middle of the podcast. So you'll see her in Act 2, but currently we're in Act 1, so let's keep going. So musical theatre life, you might have heard my chair there, sorry about that. Musical theatre, autism, it's all great. It's really fun, and it's also very calming for me. I have anxiety as well as autism, and some specific things that really help me calm down when I'm either worried, stressed, or anxious is really just listening to a specific playlist I have on my phone, which I'll be popping up on Spotify soon. If you guys would like it, please let me know. I have a musical theatre motivation playlist to get myself back in that positive mindset and really amped up and really hyped for the day. And then I've also got a more chill Broadway playlist with songs such as Electricity from Billy Elliot in there, and more stripped back, laid back songs, if you know what I mean. It really helps me just to focus in on what I'm doing right now and forget about worries and anxiety and stuff, because I'm a bit of what I would call a bit of a nervous guy inside. And the way that I would express that to you is that it could be a small thing, but with autism, I kind of give myself the sort of a super ability. It's not really helpful sometimes though, but the ability to see many outcomes of different things depending on which way I take it. For example, I can have an event going on that day, and I can be thinking in my head of all of the different possibilities of how it would go and see the possible outcomes, and then get really wound up by it inside of my head about I'm really worried about how it might actually end up going. Which is always great to be able. People would love to be able to see the future. I can sort of with that, but it's actually really annoying because it keeps going through your head, and I keep getting worried. And with my autism, anxiety, and OCD, it keeps coming. I'm just like, oh my god, there's so many voices, or things like that going around. I'm just like, oh, please stop for 5 minutes. But then when I listen to one of my musical I actually did listen back to my podcast. And it's one of the things that I'm actually very proud of doing, because it's speaking out about things that people say that they accept nowadays and that we should be proud. But there are still there's a group of people that will still try and take us down by calling us names and posting things about us, anything. 'Cause social media is hell for people with anxiety and stuff, especially speaking from my point of view. I get very worried if something, or like I get a social media message that is very vague and could be taken anywhere, like I'm so sorry, Like, if you say that and then I don't know what's going on, I will be thinking of every single outcome for that. And if you, however, if any of you need to message me about talking about musical theatre, or you need any tips or advice on anything to do with autism, musical theatre, audition technique, anything like that, I've learned quite a lot, although I'm 16. I've talked to a lot of people who have been um, oh my gosh, this is really awkward. I've forgotten the word. In the jobs of musical theatre, and I'll happily relay you some of the information that I've learnt, or most of it. I might just empty it out on you on one of our chats. You know, I don't know. Just message me on Instagram, give it a go, and I can see how I can help you with anything at all. Quick, musical theatre hydration station, and then we're gonna keep going. So, one of the reasons I called it, as I said, this is the Anybody Ever Map episode, is because we're trying to look at how autism helps me, and anxiety sort of hinders me some way, and musical theatre helps me to navigate myself through the morning and the day, as said in the show about people with anxiety, and how you help people get through the day and what it's like from their perspective, because you see different households' perspective. And that's really interesting about that song. And I really wanted to just have a little bit of time to talk about Dear Evan Hansen, because it's such a powerful show to me. Personally, for anyone who hasn't left, who's seen Dear Evan Hansen live and hasn't left the theatre crying, you have no emotions. Honestly, I was crying throughout the whole of Act 2. And it's a very emotionally gripping show. For those of you who don't know who Dear Evan Hansen is, or what the story is and what the musical is, it was written by Ben Caligari and Justin Paul, who wrote the music for the ever-growing, more popular Greatest Showman. Those two are insane. They've done many musicals before, but I've never seen them do two things that have blown up like this, like Dear Evan Hansen and The Greatest Showman, because they've really boosted their popularity, and they've gotten so famous in a short amount of time. They released Dear Evan Hansen, then like a year later they did Greatest Showman, and you know, it's kind of like it's sort of insane in a sense, because you look and they do two podcasts and they're everywhere now. Everyone's talking about Greatest Showman, everyone's talking about Dear Evan Hansen. People are still watching Greatest Showman and Dear Evan Hansen. It's absolutely incredible. But moving swiftly on from that, do go and see Dear Evan Hansen, because I can assure you it's some of the main themes about it are the impact of social media on someone's life, school culture, peer pressure, and the idea of people who have to keep up a facade to keep living some sort of life that they want. And this is going to sound really weird when I reference Tina Turner, just like saying, no, I don't know who this is. It might not be Tina Turner. Let's just go. Saying like, you can try to get what you want, but sometimes you find what you need. And Evan wants, he's always wanted a girlfriend and the latest phone, and what he would class as a normal family, because his dad is separated from his mum, and he doesn't see his dad, and he just lives with his mum, sort of like me. But it's a lovely story to see the different themes in and how relatable it is to so many people currently in the world, and I think that's one of the reasons why it blew up, because everyone will have there'll be at least one theme where everyone will feel relatable to, because everyone's on social media nowadays, and you know, it is a bit of a minefield to navigate sometimes, with friendship groups and online cyberbullying, which happens every day. It looks like an absolute dream to be on it, and everyone's on it, so you want to be on it. And it's actually, when you strip it back, it's actually quite terrifying in a sense to see what people can accomplish with it by anonymously messaging people and being quite aggressive over social media and sharing things that are absolutely disgusting and horrible to say or do to people. You know, like, why? Why are you being so aggressive? And, like, it isn't going to show us anything. If anything, being aggressive on social media just shows that you've got your priorities all wrong, okay? I mean, come on. I mean, this is said all the time, but why the hell would you do it over an anonymous platform where you can't actually see someone's face? Just, if you're going to be rude about someone, don't do it at all. Don't do it, all right? Because you will not end up benefiting from that. You'll feel, oh yeah, okay, maybe the bullies will feel slightly better about themselves. I've made fun of them and they're obviously not happy, so I'm taking pride in that. Some people that people pick on just don't care, and they don't give one about being picked on and stuff. There are some people that are that strong that they just go, you know, look at me. Am I bothered? Right? Very Catherine Tate vibes there. Like, so I get, when I get picked on, I don't care. You think it makes you look like an amazing person to all of the bullies that you would aspire to be like. But you just end up looking like an asshole. Seriously, stop it. Stop cyberbullying. There's no place in this world for anyone who bullies anyone. Fact. End of. But back to Dear Evan Hansen again. That's one of the musicals that currently is sort of feel good, relatable, and empowering to so many people. And they have a lot of people message them saying, I've been in this sort of a situation with this kind of theme and stuff. And it brings people together, musicals like that, which is what really inspires me about it, and why I've started writing songs and musical scripts and librettos, is because it's really gripping to see these themes in a way that you can now. I mean, theatre has evolved so much. We've got automation, with being able to move sets on and off stage, and pieces of set furniture and stage furniture, whatever floats your boat with that kind of saying. And lighting rigs are getting ever so more fancier. We've got rotating lights. We've got smoke machines. I meant to say fog and smoke at the same time there. Folk. Doesn't really work. Smog and folk machine. You know, we're in a very advanced world, especially with social media as well. But it's getting so, well, I would use the word electrifying, because you kind of, all of the lighting, all of the people that work backstage, all of the props, whether it's a really realistic stage or it's a really stripped down, just a black box stage, it's the actors and the people that work behind the scenes, the sound technicians, the prop department, the set designers, and the directors and the choreographers. Anyone in a show, you're doing such an amazing job currently with bringing people in and getting them so hooked on shows. I've been to see so many musicals. I went to see Evita, the Evita tour recently at New Victoria Theatre Woking. It was like a year ago, I think, but it was the most recent UK tour. And I'd never heard of Evita before, but I knew it was Andrew Lloyd Webber. And a lot of people don't really like Andrew Lloyd Webber, but I absolutely loved Evita because it was based on a true story. And Evita is such an interesting show because it can be staged and choreographed in so many different ways. It's open for interpretation, really. But whenever I hear Don't Cry For Me Argentina, or Another Suitcase in Another Hall, or Buenos Aires, Rainbow Tour, and the money kept rolling in, it gets my heart going, because I'm just like, oh, this is exciting, this is fun, this is thrilling, this is really gripping dance moves and really exciting beats, and I get really excited by that. But the only time that I will tell you, this is me moving on to a completely different topic now. We've sort of talked about Dear Evan Hansen a bit. I might mention it later. I am mentioning it in the second act. with my special guest, who I've already given a load of clues out about who it is by saying who sings the songs. It's parents, it's mothers. Sorry about my chair. Again, we're gonna move on now to look at getting overexcited in theatres, because with my autism and anxiety and stuff, I get really anxious stood outside of a theatre, and to calm myself and ground myself, I blurt out facts left, right, and centre, whether it be random or be it musical theatre related, and that's how I ground myself, because I love learning about new facts every day, etc., etc. And when I get into that building, I'm so anxious that I'm calming myself constantly. But I'm extremely excited to go to a theatre, and I absolutely love it. And I get very excited, and I start asking whoever I'm with at the theatre with. I always keep going, do you think it's going to be great? I'm really looking forward to this. I'm really excited. Oh my god, it's like 5 minutes. Can't wait. The bell's gone. Oh my god, it's getting back into Act 2, etc. And my mum has told me this many times, is that you get extremely excited at theatres and you need to calm it down a little bit. And I'm just like, but it's what I love. And I'm just like, yeah, I do see what you mean. It is a very interesting topic for me that I don't usually talk about, because although it sounds like, oh, it's great excitement, but I get extremely excited more than the average theatre kid. But I can become, when I want to, and very chill. I'm a very chill person to talk to and hang around with. Granted, I've been told that I'm the most clumsy person, but in fairness, if I'm clumsy and people laugh with me, then that's all good. I just want to make people happy and smile. That's all you can really want in the world, really, I guess, at the moment. I mean, yeah. There you have it. There's my 2 dreams. Stop cyberbullying people. Stop using social media to try and take people down who don't deserve it. And second of all, just try and make people smile and be happy. Because if you're... one thing I answered answered yesterday, it was a question on my Instagram story. Always go and follow my Instagram, at Ben Caligari Official, in the description. I answered a question that was, do you have any tips and tricks for auditions, self-tapes, etc. at home? And I've got a couple more things to add. So I said that always be your don't fake confidence in them. Okay? If you're anxious and you fake confidence on the audition or on your self-tape, and then you actually get cast, and then when you actually meet the team and you start to look ever more anxious, it just shows them that everyone's anxious, right? Everyone will get nervous backstage. It's a good thing to be nervous, because it shows you actually genuinely care about what you're doing. And we're all anxious at some points during those times in musical theatre, but just don't fake it on any audition of anything or a self-tape, because it won't help you, okay? If you're going to act so much more confident than you are in real life, and then when the director meets you and the cast meets you and you're very nervous, it looks bad, because you just want to be, from the get-go, you want to be yourself. If yourself is nervous and a little bit trembly, that's fine, right? All that matters is that the director will be able to see you for who you are and be able to cast you fairly, and see what you can work with if they need to do recalls and stuff. Like, if you appear confident and then you end up nervous in the recall, and then you appear so much more confident in other things, that's fine. But like, when you put it on, it's obvious. So just be yourself. Also with self-tapes, if they ask you to do a self-tape where it's a head-to-toe kind of shot of all of you, rather than just your torso upwards, in your dance gear, in your audition gear, whatever, if they want you to be to be a video of you head-to-toe, do it. I mean, there's nothing really to be ashamed of. All it helps them do is grasp how tall you are compared to what is behind you, and see what roles they can cast you as. Because if there's a specific role that they audition someone for, and they can only see your torso and upwards, and you end up turning out to be extremely tall, it may make some scenes awkward to work with. If especially if you're in a pairing in that show with someone else, and the height difference is a bit too much. But yeah, this is all about honesty, right? Don't fake confidence, and just be yourself. And also, if they need a full head-to-toe self-tape or audition, just do it, okay? Because in those self-tape auditions where you film it at home, you're going to be more yourself than you are in an audition room, right? So if you're going to be more yourself in the audition room, and you're just going to be worried about having your legs and feet in the shot, there's nothing really to be worried about. Because if you're feeling more exposed, or more exposed about your true personality on a self-tape, then you've got nothing to worry about of just showing head-to-toe video. I mean, it may sound a bit odd, but if it's a video of you stood up and they can actually see all of you in that shot, that's great, because then they have a bit more to work with and see how you present yourself on camera, etc. I've seen some self-tapes of people where it's just their face, and it's quite intimidating. But unless it's always, if the director asks you to do something, it's just because they want there's either a specific role or a specific part in the show where they need more help to see whether people are castable. Okay, there's nothing to worry about. We're not going to get into that audition room or look at your self-tape and just snigger behind our cameras and say they're not getting cast. We don't do that in theatre, because all of the directors I've met a load of directors, and they are so kind, and casting directors, and they are so kind. They're unbelievably kind. So just try not to be afraid, but if you are, let them know. There's no harm in telling people if you have problems with things. I got a question from one of my friends saying, is it better to tell a school or something that you're doing in your medical notes that you're autistic, or to hide it, or lie about it slightly? And in my opinion, just tell them, okay? I have to do that for everything that I do. It doesn't take priority off of other people. It may feel a bit anxiety prone or anxiety filled just to tell them in that moment, but trust me, you're going to feel less stress in that moment just letting them know that you're autistic than have you're going to, let me put it this way, right? It's less stressy to tell them is it going to be more stressful for you to really quickly tell someone that you have autism that they can help you with, or is it going to be or are you going to feel less stressed when you have to hide that you're autistic in the long run? It's obviously going to be less stressful to just tell the casting director or anyone in your group that you're autistic, because if you try and hide it, it gets really hard and you get really tired. I had that for a couple years where I wouldn't tell people I was autistic, and people just started guessing, and it was much worse. Like, if you tell people, I'm a very open person about autism, and if someone asks me about it, I'll give them a straight answer. But I know that there are some people that aren't confident enough yet to do so, and that's fine. But I'm just giving you a little bit of advice that's saying, when you're ready and you're feeling less anxious to tell people that you are autistic, go for it. And if you think that people are going to bully you for it and they're your friends, in that case, you shouldn't be bloody friends with them. They should just get lost. If you think that your friends, and if you tell your friends and that you're autistic, or if you have anxiety and they make fun of you, leave them then and there. It is less likely that you're going to be able to convince them to change their views, okay? And if they do, that's great. But people that don't accept you for you should get the hell away and you should push them out because they are going to feel like such a dum-dum for not accepting people for who they are. Honestly, I'm going to clap myself for that. That's the only time I'm going to clap myself because I actually liked how that sounded. I did actually have someone who I told, and then the next week or like a couple of days after that, they made a joke about calling one of their friends autistic or retard while I was in the room, and I just kind of looked them up. I looked up at them and then I walked out. Honestly, it's so liberating for me to be able to do that to someone because I would not have the confidence if I just made a friend to walk out on them and not talk to them ever again. But I have done that. And it made me feel so much more confident because it means that I had a friendship group and people I was friends with that actually accepted me for me and don't care that I have it. I'm normal. We're all normal. No one's perfect. The idea of everyone being unique is that we're all different, right? So if you're thinking that people with autism are more different, then you're completely wrong. Because everyone is completely different, right? I have autism. I have brown hair. I have blue eyes. I am 5'10", right? Someone else could be much shorter than 5'10", have blonde hair and have brown eyes, right? And they're completely different to me, but they're going to be completely different to everybody on the bloody planet. We're all completely different from each other. There is no point in excluding someone or not talking to someone or hating someone because they're either autistic or any other diagnosis that they have, because we're all the same. We're all the same in the fact that we're different. That sounds really contradicting, but I'll let you know. This is what I was told. You're unique, just like everybody else. And it's a constant loop, right? Accept people for who they are, please. That's one of the things that I want to get through with this podcast. Don't make fun of people for being a little bit quirky or not being how you'd want them to be, right? Accept them. Accept them, give them a hug, give them a high five, say how you're doing in the morning, ask if they're okay constantly if you don't think they look okay. Just ask them if they're a bit distant. Ask them, are you okay? What's going on? Let them open up to you. Be someone that they can confide in, because that is one of the most genuinely satisfying things to know, is that you've got someone who accepts you and that you can talk to when you need someone. I have someone like that. His name is Liam. I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but he is the kindest person I've met, and he does not give a damn if I'm autistic. I make fun of my autism sometimes, but I'm allowed to. Because I do it in good taste, because I love my autism and I embrace it, right? But when someone is doing something to purposefully ridicule someone who has autism or any other diagnoses, as I say, they should not be your friend. B, they should shut the hell up because they do not know what they're talking about. And then, you will find people that accept you for you. I accept you for you, right? If you are hearing this message me or comment on my podcast that you want to talk to me. If you need to talk to someone, I accept everyone. I literally talk to so many people about so little things, whether it's a big conversation or a small conversation. I genuinely just accept anyone for who they are. That is my second TED Talk about accepting people. I did a sort of same thing. That's why I said TED Talk, because I did that last week. Sort of the same sort of along the lines of acceptance, but in a different way this week. I talked about, let's just have a little bit of a recap. We've talked about life with musical theatre. We've talked about being anxious at the theatre. We've talked about Dear Evan Hansen and Bench Per Second Justin Paul. And the final thing I wanted to mention before I split off for the intermission, where you will see my extremely coveted, I love this one, Yorktown, The World Turned Upside Down by Lin-Manuel Miranda from Hamilton. It is a drum cover, okay? So look out for that. It's another drum cover. The next video I do will be a singing cover, but I'm not telling you what that is yet. And it'll be released on my YouTube. But before we go to that break, I just want to talk about something that I did recently. I did something with the National Youth Musical Theatre, NYMT. They did. I always audition with them for their shows. Sometimes I get recalls, sometimes I don't. That's life, right? We all learn to deal with rejection how we do. It's fine. And they always do a musical theatre skills summer workshop. And now, because of COVID-19, it was still going ahead, and then they cancelled it because they couldn't go to the site that they always do, which is Sevenoaks, and it's amazing there. And most amazing meals that you can have, especially breakfast. Oh my gosh, I remember waking up and having those because I did it last year, and this year they actually did it over Zoom, and it was really interesting doing it over Zoom because it is so much different. It was about I would wake up and we would get going at 10 a.m. and we would finish at around 1 or half 1, depending on where we get to. And we played Mafia one day. We worked on objectives and emotions and learnt more about how actors perceive things. We also did solo songs, and we are currently going away on our own to record our harmonies and group versions of When I Grow Up from Matilda the musical. There are 2 groups that sing harmonies and stuff, and it sounds amazing. I'm on one of the higher harmonies because I constantly sound like I've been kicked in the balls because I am sort of blessed with a higher voice than some people. And I'm just looking at my sheet music now that I've got here. It's a very nice, soothing song to listen to. So if you need a song that will calm you down, or is sort of you want to have a good old relax and chillax, chillax, maxing, relaxing, Will Smith kind of vibes, just listen to When I Grow Up from Matilda the musical. It's insane. And as I've said, I will be putting up some musical theatre theming playlists on my Spotify, which I'll be announcing on my Instagram very soon, to do with musical motivation playlists and sad songs playlists, and having a good old emotional day. You can listen to those kind of songs to cheer you up and show that you're not alone. But yeah, other than that, we're going to have to call Act 1 over. We're going to have to pull the curtain back down, bring up the house lights, put the safety curtain down, and I will see you in Act 2 in around just about 2 minutes, or very much shorter than that. Here is the intermission for your entertainment. It is me, sat at my Tama drum kit, playing Yorktown, The World Turned Upside Down, written by Lin-Manuel Miranda from Hamilton. I will see you in Act 2, where you get to meet our special guest. See you later.
We'll never be free until we end slavery. When we finally drive the British away, Lafayette is there waiting in Chesapeake Bay. How did we know that this plan would work? We had a spy on the inside, that's right. Hercules Mulligan! Had a spy on the British government. I take the measurements, information, and then I smuggle it to my brother's revolutionary covenant. I'm running with the sons of liberty, and I am loving it. See, that's what happens when you up against the Ruffians. We in this shit now, somebody's gotta shovel it. Hercules Mulligan, I need no introduction. When you knock me down, I get the fuck back up again.
Hello and welcome back to Theatre's Hidden Helper podcast, Autism, Musicals and Me. That there in the intermission was my drumming cover of Yorktown, The World Turns Upside Down. I said that wrong. Yorktown, The World Turned Upside Down from Hamilton, written by Lin-Manuel Miranda. I've got someone laughing in the background who I'm quite fascinating to see what happens on my podcast. It is actually the first guest that I've got for the podcasts is none other than my mum. So, hello, Mum.
Hello, Ben.
Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit? Say your name and... I don't know if age is appropriate, but
you shouldn't really ask a lady their
exactly,
age,
that's what
but
I mean.
I'm quite happy to tell you how old I am. My name is Kerry and I'm 42.
I was about to say, what is your relation? But
if you don't know that by now, I'm a little worried.
Yes, I would actually be very worried about that too. This is actually really fun, isn't it? It's
not
quite
bad.
fun. So we're gonna get through to some questions in a minute. Mm-hmm. But did you like that little Yorktown thing?
I love Yorktown. I think it's I think it's a great track. I think it's a great track that you play really well. It's my favourite piece that you know how to play. And what fascinates me is how you don't read music, you just listen to it and you can play it within 30 minutes. I'm astonished.
It's sort of
by
like
that.
perfect pitch, but for drums.
Right. Okay.
Do you know what perfect pitch is?
You have explained that to me, but you might want to explain it again.
Okay, so for any of you out there who don't know this, also, first question is why? It's a perfect pitch is when you can hear a note on a piano or a chord, or you can listen to, or you can a piece of music on the piano, and you can, if you slow it down, or anyway, if you play a note on the piano or a chord, that if you have perfect pitch, you'll be able to tell someone what exact chord that is,
Right.
and what notes are played with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of describe it as perfect pitch, but for drums, because I only have to hear it, because it works either way.
But it astonishes me how quickly you can listen to something.
It is a bit weird, isn't it?
And then play it. It's insane.
It's a bit weird.
Yeah,
I just feel it though. That's what it. I know it sounds like one of those stoner kids, isn't it? I just feel it. I ride the ride. It's just there, right? So I can notice when the snare is and the bass drum is, and that's probably because I like drums in a way that other people don't. I strip it down.
Mm-hmm.
But that's in my head. I don't. A lot of people strip it down and then play it, but the stripping down thing is all in my head and going on and processing and condensing while I'm playing it.
And you're really good at picking up all the little details that other people miss. That's why you're so good at murder mysteries that we do together, because you're always streets ahead of everybody else.
I was going to say that actually, out of nowhere, as one of your introduction things. We did an online murder mystery.
We did.
Was it like 2 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
And we did 2 of them, actually. One of them I was on the right track from the beginning.
You were. That was scary.
Which is quite fascinating for me. Because it was all like, it can't be her because there was a gas tank under her trailer. I'm just like, yes, I know that, because who the hell would put it underneath a massive piece of incriminating evidence underneath their house? But a lot of people in real life do that. That being said, the one that we did recently was much harder.
It was, yes, but
Much
you were coming
harder.
out with all of these theories.
But they linked, that's why.
I know.
With the detective kind of thing, with autism, this really helps.
It does,
because I'm constantly doing this anyway.
You think of things that other people don't think of.
I'm constantly doing that anyway, which is the problem with me.
Your brain doesn't switch off.
Yeah, so anytime I can be listening to things, I'm just like, why? Why is this happening? But
anyway,
yeah.
back to Yorktown.
Exactly, back to Yorktown after we've digressed a little bit.
It's brilliant. And now we've set up the camera on your bedroom window.
Yes.
It's brilliant because normally I only ever get to see you playing from behind.
Exactly. That's
So
one of
it's-
the annoying things, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's been great actually to see how quickly your feet are moving and how quickly your arms are moving all over the
Exactly.
place. And how you coordinate it is beyond me.
Yeah, so if there are any drummers listening to this podcast, which I hope there are, which I know one person is, if you want to record yourself drumming and you don't want to like put a phone there or ask your parents to hold it up, buy a dash cam, because that's what we've got, and it's genuinely amazing for what you pay for it.
It is.
And it's really easy. Well, I say it's easy. I have someone who can do it for me, to link up. But yeah. So, do you want to move on to some quick fire sort of questions?
Go on then.
I did actually send you a link of. I sent you 5.
You did.
Right. I sent you 5 to start off with. There are a couple that I want to
Right.
do on the spot.
Okay.
Only because some questions are genuinely better when you don't know what you're going to say.
Okay. Some of these questions I've got more than one answer for, though. So just
That's
so
fine.
you know.
That's fine. If you keep going off too far, like I did on my first episode,
You'll
I will
stop me.
stop you.
Okay.
By the way, I don't think I've told you this yet. Do you know what the title is, Mum?
No.
You don't. And everyone else will, because it's on the title, and I will have said it in part 1. It's called Anybody Have a Map? Because
Okay.
every podcast, as everyone else will know, is named after a different musical theatre song on the same track. It's a song about parents and their weird teens.
This
and I'm
is
just
true.
This is exactly what's happening here. So, all right. Let's start. I've actually done these on my Instagram story, and I took a couple of them from that. So, Mum, what is your dream role if you could have one?
My dream role, if I could have one, there's a few dream roles I'd quite like to do. Growing up as a teenager, my favourite film, it still is my favourite film actually, is Dirty Dancing, and that was changed into a musical. So obviously, I'd like to be Baby Houseman, because I'd love someone to lift me up in the air. Although I think they might need a crane with me now in order to do that. And
well, that's horrible. That'd be a bit worrying, wouldn't it?
But
I've had the time of my life. Beep, beep. Reel it in.
I'm word perfect on the lyrics for that, because obviously I've known it for a long time.
Yeah.
Or Angelica Schuyler, because she's a real powerful woman. Or because it's completely opposite to me, I'd like to be one of the ugly sisters from Soho Cinders.
Oh yes.
Because I think that would be so fun, and I think
very, very chavvy in a sense.
Yeah.
But
very out there, and I'm quite a reserved person. Yeah.
It's interesting that you say Angelica, because she's very out there, but more in. Because throughout the play, she finds feelings for Hamilton. Yeah. Who's married. Yeah. And he finds feelings for her, but they never discuss it. It's kind of like the awkward situation between two family members. Yeah. Actually, I don't know if you know this, but while we were talking about Yorktown, this came to my head. A lot of people say that Hamilton is very overrated. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that? Because I somewhat do, but only to an extent, because I love the movement and the thoughts behind it. Yeah. But sometimes you see everyone's hyped about it, and you do go and see it, and we did see it, and it was amazing. Yeah, it was. But it's a little bit overhyped in the fact that everyone's only talking about that when it came out. But what do you think? Because I personally, I love so many moments of that show. I guess you could say that, but then you could also argue that's true of any musical. Yeah. Like Dear Evan Hansen was very hyped up when it came out, and that's fantastic. A lot of people said the same about Heathers as well when it came to the UK. Oh really? I didn't know that. Yeah. Oh okay. I thought Hamilton was brilliant, and I think Lin-Manuel Miranda's a genius. He's basically the Shakespeare of our age, as a lot of people call him. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. It's quite a cool thing, isn't it? Yeah. Funnily enough, I think there was an interview where his. Actually, let's forget that, because I can't remember it. It was about his son. And his son wasn't so keen on it as his dad was. Right. Some of the music. But okay, let's move on. Favorite musical. Ooh. Okay. So, Guys and Dolls. Grew up with that one. Love Guys and Dolls. I didn't know I didn't know your answers to these, so I'm genuinely ecstatic when you said an oldie. Yeah, Guys and Dolls. Love Guys and Dolls. Dear Evan Hansen. Yep. Fiver, which some people might not have heard of. Yes, good point. Fiver. Absolutely loved Fiver. For anyone who doesn't know what Fiver was, Please do explain it. Okay, so Fiver was an Off West End musical that was at the Southwark Playhouse last year, and Alex Jameson, who wrote it, is very, very clever. So basically, he told the story of a £5 note as it went through different people's pockets during the course of a day, a week, a month. So it started off with a guy on the streets who was given a £5, so he then went to buy something, and so then you entered the story of the £5 of the new house it entered into, and it was so clever the way all sorts of humanity was sort of explored and expressed through the. And we have a part of that show that's yet to be framed. Because I was given by Luke Bayer, who's lovely and amazing. He gave me a party popper to pop in a party scene, and he went round. He gave me one and said, "On 1, 2, 3, when I say go, pop it," and the next person, right? And I had one, and I popped it, and it was really fun, but it did make me jump. And we're yet to find a deep enough frame to put it in. I know. And it's the tiniest of party poppers. Why are there no frames? I don't know. And you got Luke Bayer to sign it. I did. I awkwardly asked him to sign the most awkward thing that you could be asked to sign at a stage door. But yeah, it's an amazing story, and I really loved it when it was on at Southwark Playhouse. And I hope it comes back at some point and they get a longer run, because especially I think, if they do a cast recording. Yes, and a lot of people were absolutely raving about it once they'd seen it. Yeah. So that one, Soho Cinders. Yeah.
I think that's very funny. And
Also with Luke Bayer.
Oh, go on. Also with Luke Bayer,
Yeah.
yeah. And Come From Away, and we've seen
brilliant.
Come From Away twice, and
I've always left that theatre with tears in my eyes.
yeah, that's probably the most moving piece of theatre I think I've ever seen, and that's probably because I can remember where
you
was
were on the 9/11 attacks
when 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
I was at work on the chemotherapy unit, and it was the only time I've known the whole ward go absolutely silent.
Yeah. For those of you who actually don't know what Come From Away is, because it's a very raved about show, but I've come across a lot of people that haven't known about it. So it's about the grounding of 38 planes in a small town called Newfoundland in Canada.
Yeah.
People will hate me for that. But it's all about how the town coped with having all of these new people staying when the US airspace was locked.
Yeah.
That was the closest airport they had to stay in, and there's friendships that come across, relationships that die, relationships that are formed, and every single character plays so many different characters. Every actor is playing about 6 characters, so you must think about the swings and the understudies, how hard their job is.
Yeah, very hard. But I love the way that that's all based on real people's stories.
Yeah.
So it's got a very good narrative to it.
It's very down to earth, which is what made me cry.
But it has
what helps.
It has such an emotional impact.
It does.
Because I could see lots of young people in the theatre when we were there who weren't around when 9/11 happened.
But they knew exactly what was happening.
But they all went out
in tears.
Quite emotional. Yeah.
And there's no interval. Because
no.
I love that about that, because there is no good place for an interval.
No.
It's if you're going to do it, you can't put an interval in there because it just doesn't make sense.
I think it would disrupt the flow of the story.
Exactly. Right. Is that your most favourite? All right. Welcome to the part of the show where we get absolutely demolished by theatre fans. What is your least favourite musical? And I say this, I'm clenching my fingers because I'm extremely anxious about this.
I'm really, really sorry if anyone loves this, but just I don't particularly like Beetlejuice. But that's because as a child I was freaked out by Beetlejuice.
A lot of people were at that point.
And so,
do you have any others that you really hate or you don't really like?
No.
Really? Wow. That's really interesting. Can I list you a couple?
Go on then.
All right. Are you warming up to? I've got my mum sort of into the music of Star Kid. I'll tell you.
Right.
I'll tell you a sort of story. I got one of my friends into Star Kid. Her name's Gemma. Hello, if you're watching. And she's now obsessed with it. Then I when creating the name of the podcast with West End legend Martin Milnes, I told him about Star Kid. In a conversation that we had, and he loves it as well, and he likes Twisted, which is one of their best shows that they did, which is in my opinion. And now Gemma's mum is sort of watching him a little bit, and I've watched a couple with you in there. I know that you aren't so keen on like the rude bits and some of the storylines, but the music is actually well written. Especially Golden Rule from Star Kid, follow the golden rule.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The music's well written, but it's just whether your preference is as I would listen to that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the only thing I wanted to list off, actually. I just wanted to see what you'd say. What about... Oh, here we go. Favourite West End performer. I think I have a good stab at this.
Do you?
I think I know what you're going to say, but I want to hear you say it.
There's a few. So Lucy James, we saw her in Waitress.
Oh yes,
unbelievable voice.
Yeah,
just incredible.
And she's very creative as well. Because when at West End Live, her mic, I don't know which, either hers or David's mic failed on stage.
Right. And
one of them was singing, and we couldn't hear anything. So they just did the whole scene very intimately up close to each other, holding one mic.
Right.
And I thought that's clever.
Yeah.
What else? I'm crossing my fingers that this is on here.
So you might not remember, but when we went to see Come From Away the first time,
Yes.
there was a lady called Kat Simons who
Yes.
played the part of a lady whose firefighter son was lost, and she couldn't find him for days.
Yep.
And I grew up watching The Bill with her in it, so I knew she was a very good actress, but I didn't know that she did musical theatre or anything.
Yeah.
So I thought she was amazing. John McCrae.
Oh yes, original Jamie.
Yeah.
I think that should go to Broadway at some point, just like Six.
Yeah, I agree. Luke Bayer,
Amazing.
he's phenomenal.
Alternate Jamie as well.
Yeah, and we've seen him in a few
We've
things
seen.
actually.
First time I met him, everybody's talking about Jamie
Yeah,
when he was in the class.
Yeah.
Then there was Fiverr.
yeah. Soho Cinders.
Soho Cinders, which he was at one of them, because we saw two performances of Soho Cinders, one with the original cast and one with the switchover cast.
Yeah.
Which either way, both casts were great.
Yeah.
Especially the second cast with Dale Hodge,
Yes.
who I've met before from Jersey Boys.
Yeah.
I love that musical too, if anyone didn't know.
Yep,
Buy
so
me
do
a
I.
birthday card with that kind of thing on it. 10th of December.
And my other favourite West End performer, people might not have heard of, is Marcus Harmon, who was the
Yes, understudy Evan.
understudy Evan, and
alternate.
we saw him on his first ever West End performance, and he was just
He was incredible.
unbelievable.
I think that's also one of the musicals where I've actually genuinely been crying, like Come From Away. Like there are some films that you sit in and you just think I'm crying just because it's sad,
Yeah.
rather than that show I've actually got a true connection with. Okay then. Here we go.
Go on.
Jam first or cream first?
Jam, obviously.
Oh, okay. You're gonna have half of the nation slating you for this. I don't remember which is the Devon way.
I think it's Devon.
Is it the Devon way? Perfect. All right. So, because I've got my mum on the show and I want to be able to use her time wisely, I'm skipping the musical theatre news section, and I'm only going to mention one thing that's been happening recently, and it is the Andrew Lloyd Webber saga, as I call it. Do you know about what's going on with Andrew Lloyd Webber's productions currently?
No.
Okay, so where have you been? There have been two things that have happened. Phantom of the Opera, if you didn't know, on the West End is closed
What, permanently?
permanently, I believe, to revamp.
Okay.
It was originally said they weren't coming back at all, and now it looks like they're going to come back with a reworked production, with a reworked choreography, but I'm honestly not sure, because constantly the story's changing of whether they are or not, and it's just kind of getting really repetitive. He's also done the first socially distanced performance in the London Palladium, I think.
Oh, cool.
Who I can't remember who was in it. But I will put it in the comments if I do and find the news article, as I did last episode. And apparently it went really well.
Excellent.
Every seat was taped off where they couldn't sit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only bit of theatre news I wanted to talk about, because it's really only only thing that's been going on. Other than that, what's it like living with an autistic person? Just go for it. I don't mind.
It's an interesting roller coaster.
It is, isn't it?
Right.
Especially from in my point of view,
Yes.
because I can see it all.
When you were little, life was quite interesting because you were always you always knew things that nobody else knew. So I used to take you when you were 3 and 4 to a music club once a week called Mad Academy. Okay, and
I forgot about Mad Academy.
Okay, so the lady there used to be a activity each week where she would hold up some pictures of instruments, and you had to say what the instruments were.
Yep.
And she was desperately trying to catch you out because you always knew what the instruments were.
I mean,
it
kind of a bit of a foreshadowing moment.
But So there was one week she looked at me and she went, "Oh, he won't get it this week."
What did she show you a picture of?
So she held up the picture and you went, "Church organ," and she went, "Oh, yes," because nobody else said anything because nobody else
No
knew.
one.
I just said, "Oh, his godfather is a church organist," and she went, "Oh, okay."
Oh,
So
Stephen.
yes,
Yeah.
So anyway, the next week she came back and she went, "He definitely won't get this one." So she held up the pictures and you just went, everyone else was silent and you just went, "Harpsichord."
Nice.
And
I do love the harpsichord though. It's old, and nobody uses it really anymore, except at a National Trust site.
Yes.
I've never seen one outside of a National Trust site or a museum, but they sound really weird. It's really twangy, especially when we went to see Six, at the Ivanano in Guildford, because at the start they have popular music from this decade played on the harpsichord.
Yeah.
Which
To
is
make it sound
insane
medieval. Yeah.
to say. It's so simple, but it's effective. I also have some. What were you going to say? Something?
Back to autism.
Yeah.
which is what
do
you
Do
asked
you want
me.
to finish off your thing on your little thing on autism then?
I think it's really important not to assume that not to assume too much of people. So growing up,
Yeah.
you were always the one that was kind of left out and left behind, which I used to find really, really sad. But you would make people like you by making people laugh, which I guess was the actor in you starting to come out.
Sort of.
And so it's been lovely watching you grow and form your own kind of friendships and relationships now. I just wish I could take away the anxiety for you, because anxiety,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
anxious
Hell
from
yeah.
from the minute you get up in the morning.
There will
And
be at least two things that I'll be worried about.
It doesn't take much to kind of tip that bucket over, but because
but
you
yeah.
because you come across so well to people, people don't realise that you can be so affected by things.
And
so
I
think
also
it's
don't
really
carry around a metal bucket and fill it up every time I get nervous.
But I think people perhaps need to just
Back off.
I was going to say perhaps have a little bit more
They need to have a bit more understanding.
appreciation.
And definitely appreciation, which is why I'm making this podcast.
Which is
'Cause
great.
It's musical theatre, autism, and me.
Yeah.
I was just about to say things that I love, but then if I say I love me, it sounds very, very awkward.
It does. I have to say, musical theatre for you, because you discovered you like that in secondary school. That's really when you started to
Make friends.
make friends and come into yourself, because you had something in common with
Yeah.
some other people. And it was just, I think it's just been a brilliant way for you to
Yeah.
express yourself.
It was really the time when I could, as Martin Milnes actually told me, it's one of his things from his new book Wildcard. Buy it now. I'll put that in the description, because it's an amazing book and he's an amazing friend and mentor. His phrase is celebrate. I've got this phrase actually here, I believe. No, I don't. I have the other one. It's something along the lines of celebrate your true identity. As in, this is the time when you need to, because I understand that is what is needed.
I think up until the last few years, you've always tried to make yourself fit other boxes or other social circles, but it's not actually been truly you. But because you've wanted to be accepted and included, you've kind of tried to mould yourself into other things. So it's been really, really lovely to find something that you really love or really passionate about, so that you can kind of really truly be who you want to be.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very nice. That's another TED Talk. I did the one last week as well. Yeah, one of the other things I wanted to say in this little end bit is that it's very nice to talk to people about musical theatre, and it's also very nice to talk to you about musical theatre, because we talk about it on a daily basis.
We
don't
do.
Very much. Whether it's I'm playing a song on the on my speaker and you just go, no thanks, and something like that. Turn it off.
Or can we play something else now? Because one of your favourite things is you'll discover a soundtrack
Oh
that
yes,
you like,
and then I will
and
play
you
it
play
on
it
repeat.
over and over and over.
Yeah, but there are some soundtracks you can't get enough of.
True.
I guess. However, we're nearly out of time. Only nearly though. we've got 9 minutes left to fulfill. But do you want to help me? I haven't actually told you that you're going to help me do this. So what is one of the USPs of this podcast, Mum? Unique selling points.
That you are autistic.
Correct. It's about
Musical theatre.
Yep. About
You.
struggles and stuff, right? But
Yep.
the other thing is that we want to get people involved that aren't usually involved in podcasts
This
or
is
put
true.
out on the web.
Mhm.
So this is the bit that I'll put on every end of the podcast. As I said last week, I'll put the instructions in the description, but we want you to get involved with the podcast because it's great not only just to talk to people who've been on the West End and have training experience, but also to the people that don't and that just appreciate musical theatre, whether they're an adult, a teenager, or the mutant in between phrase. But we
Is that how you would have described yourself in that in-between
Yes.
phase? Okay, fair enough.
So you can do this either two ways. You can Instagram message me at Ben Caligari official. Don't worry, I will put that in the description as well because someone's sat there just like Caligari.
Yeah, how do you say that? How do you
Caligari.
spell
I've
it?
never had one person say it right. Actually, strike that. I've had 3 and I'm 16. So yeah, you can either drop me a message on Instagram and just say, hey, I want to be in your podcast, and let me know what you want to talk about on the podcast. Because it's always nice to see what different people want to talk about. Because
Yeah.
there'll be people that are more into jazz style or Fosse or want to have a whole second part just on, I don't know, Hal Leonard, which is a whole branch of music. That's my leg, actually. But yes, the other way that you can get involved is not message my mother. Because she'll go, huh? But I will put my the podcast email in the description, and it's also on my Instagram bio. You just go to my bio, click on the email button, which is probably more easier. But I'll put it down in the link description anyway. Title the email to me something along the lines of, I want to be in your next podcast, or I want to be assigned a podcast to come and do with you. And we'll do it on either at a social distance, or we can do it on Zoom, whatever floats your boat. And then you just want to tell me the same thing as Instagram, what you want to do on the podcast, because it's all really guided by you guys, because that's the idea of this thing. Without people sending in questions and stuff, there is really barely a podcast. It's just a skeleton.
And also,
I'm just hosting it.
And also, if anybody wants to ask you questions about how your autism
Yep.
affects you in various ways, shapes, or form, then I'm assuming you'd be open to
Oh yes,
answering those
definitely.
questions.
Yeah, I've never actually said that before. Yeah, if you just want to talk about autism, if you have it, or just musical theatre, whenever I'm free, or whenever you're free, actually, just drop me a message on Instagram or my Twitter, which I'll put in the description. I won't give you my phone number, or email me anything. Just trying to have a conversation with me, because I always reply within like a day.
Yeah, you do like talking.
I do like talking. So if you just fancy a good old natter about musical theatre and need some tips on anything, drop me a message. Don't drop my mum a message, as I've said, because I want to be able to reply to them personally. And actually, let me know in the description, do you want me to set up a podcast website? Because I have my own website, which I need to revamp. It needs heavy revamping. And I've been thinking about getting one for the podcast, especially. Just so that people know what's going on. We can put feedback and new posts on there about hints of the next podcast and who's going to appear on it. I do actually know who's appearing next week, but I'm not telling my mum. And I'm also not telling myself, because in truth I'm still trying to work out. I've seriously had a lot of people say that they want to be in my podcast. Many people, many of my friends, many ex-school friends, musical theatre buddies, people in the Netherlands. One of my friends in the Netherlands has said, well, I want to do it as well. But yeah, just message me, and I'll see what I can do. Whether you just want to chat or you want help with things, just please do let me know, because I am not gonna bite you unless you do not mention the word Marmite. Is there anything that you want to say to close off the podcast, Mum?
Thank you for having me. I hope I haven't embarrassed you too much. And just an idea.
You haven't muted me that much.
But just think, because you've got a load of leaflets strung from a
I
washing
can see
line
them from
in
here,
the
because
office
nobody
area.
else knows that we're doing this in pyjamas today, ladies and gentlemen.
We are.
And we're also in the kitchen.
I was just thinking, you could also focus sometimes on a specific musical that you've seen.
That's what I'm going to do.
And
I'm hoping to do that. But I
see
need to
what
work
other
out the
people think.
schedule first, which I still haven't done. But I've got a spreadsheet
yes,
ready.
because we know that with your autism, the organisation
Is not to be desired, I guess.
is a little challenging.
But when it comes to getting people on the podcast and organising, that's completely fine.
Absolutely.
It's just putting it into an organised way of looking at it.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't let that put you off. Thanks for mentioning that. But yeah, other than that, I don't have much to say. We've got 2 minutes and 40 seconds left that I can really push for.
So where are the scones then? You said, what do I prefer, jam or cream? Where's the scones?
We don't actually have scones, but I do remember you did make some lovely, and as my friend Liam would say it, banging lemon drizzle cake.
I don't think Liam's had lemon drizzle cake yet. He's had brownies though.
He's had brownies and he has had lemon drizzle cake because I gave him some.
You're right.
I did.
I'd forgotten about that.
Because you gave me, you literally gave me some. It was the day in year 11,
now.
and you made it, and like, you literally said to me, you need to take 2 slices in for Liam.
I did. I remember now.
So yeah, this has been a great podcast episode. It's really weird talking to my mum about musicals, especially for like 30 minutes, because we don't do that.
We do.
Well, we don't talk about it for 30 minutes on constant repeat.
No, this is true.
We do
but
it
it's,
in
it's
little
there's a
intervals.
daily theme.
Oh hell yeah, it's a daily theme. If it wasn't a daily theme,
I'd be
There's
living
no-
with the wrong
there's
person.
no point in it, is there?
So
To be
what have you
honest.
done with my son?
Yeah. Right. To finish off, as I keep saying, just to drag it out a little bit, give you some little insider info. Do you want to share any memories of going to the theatre or funny things that happened on the way to the? Oh, that's funny, isn't it? A funny thing happened to me on the way to the forum reference. Do you know what that is?
No.
Oh my god, that's a musical. Funny thing happened to me on the way into the forums. A funny thing happened to us on the way to the musicals.
Did it?
No. Oh my gosh. So the thing is, I'm autistic, and I get extremely worried when someone has taken something the wrong way when I've said something. My mum just takes it the wrong way naturally sometimes and doesn't understand what I'm saying.
The funniest thing is when you start on talking about something and I think, oh, Ben's talking about such and such.
And I'm talking about...
So I start
Yeah.
talking about it, and then about 20 minutes later, we discover that we're both talking about something completely different.
Exactly. That's gold, isn't it?
Yes.
But yeah, do you have any really quick funny stories from going to London to see a show? I do, but
Oh,
I
go
don't
on.
want to tell my West End Live thing.
I can't think of any.
I don't want to tell my West End Live train thing.
Oh, I would.
Oh,
Because
no, no.
otherwise, Karis and Bethan will out you.
Actually, yeah, Karis and Bethan, I love you guys. You're amazing. You wrote my first questions for the first episode, but I'm going to mention you again. So when I went to West End Live last year,
Bearing in mind that you are more than a little accident prone.
I am a little bit accident prone when it comes to tripping over things that are there that I don't see. Oh, there's my timer. See, we're all planned on iOS. Yeah, iPhone. I'm going to stop that because we're going to go over a little bit. But we were on the way back from West End Live, and the radio station that was helping sponsor, they had these 4 placards up, and it was like each of them represented a different musical, but as like a dingbat, if you know what I mean. Dingbats are like pictures that are supposed to spell something out, like the clue for my podcast that only 3 people got.
And this is Waterloo Station.
This is no. This is still at West End Live,
Oh, right,
and
okay.
I'd won them a radio
You did.
because I gave them all the answers, and then they drew it out, and then they got to keep the radio that they won, which there was about 6 of for the day, or like 16 of them. Bit of a difference there, isn't it? 6 and 16. But we were getting back on the train to go back home, and Karis had put her phone on the radio thing with my McFlurry, of course. And she said, "Hold this while I get on." And I'd successfully gotten on, and she went to grab my arm, and as she did that, the bottom bit of the box went down, and her phone slid off into the train tracks. Now, many of you would be thinking what I wasn't thinking, which was keep calm and do it yourself. What I did was I dropped the radio, I helped her up onto the train, and I sprinted down the platform. I actually jumped over one of the gates, not one of the motorised gates, but like a gate for where they put the bins. And I got to this lady and she said, I said, "Oh my God, I've dropped my friend's phone down the track. What do I do?" And she says, "Oh, well, we can't actually do that until the train's left. So I'm really sorry, but we can't actually do that for you, sir. I'm really sorry." And I said, and then she actually caved in and said, "Fine, I'll do it in a minute after my break." And I was like, "But the train's leaving now." And the guard actually ran over to me and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I've just dropped my friend's phone down the track." And he just goes, he just bolts into action. He grabs it, grabs one of those grabber things for litter and grabs it up. Luckily, people say that iPhones are extremely destructible. The only damage that had happened is that the screen protector had come off a little bit, as in not snapped, but it was just away from the screen a little bit. I was like, "Thank God!"
And I'd been saying to you for years, you're not having an iPhone.
Yeah, I know,
because the screens
but now,
break really quickly.
But now I do, and I haven't broken the screen. Only the protector 3 times. But that's my funny West End life story, and everything went well. I explained to her parents, and I explained to her mum, and she said, "I can't afford to buy a new phone." I said, No, it's fine and it's working. That's the motto of me. If it's not broke, don't buy another one, I guess. But we're out of time. It's gone pretty fast, actually, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has.
It's genuinely gone fast. And it's so muggy in here. It's so hot.
It is.
Like, seriously. I'm wearing my dressing gown and I'm regretting it.
You and your dressing gown. That's another of your autistic things.
Yes, okay, we don't have time to get into that.
In the middle of summer, you'll wear really, really hot, heavy clothing, and in the winter, you'll be out in shorts and t-shirt.
Yeah, now I've got to cut the first part of the podcast short so that I don't run over 1 hour and 7 minutes, because we're actually at 40 minutes now. But yeah, thank you for sticking with us again. As I said, get in touch with me via the instructions down below in the description, and you can get on the podcast somehow if you like musicals, if you're autistic. Anyone can get involved. If you haven't seen any musicals, if you're very new to the musical thing, get on and we'll educate you. It will be really fun for me. My mum may make another appearance. I don't know. I haven't sprung that on her yet.
Will you let me?
I mean, yes, because otherwise, phone bill doesn't get paid. But other than that, guys, I will see you in the next podcast, and we're just drawing the curtains closed now on the stage, and we will see you all next week for another musical theatre podcast. Goodbye, guys. Bye. I'm just kidding, actually. I need to say one more thing. I've just got the eye roll. Sadly, microphones can't pick up rude gestures. But I actually need to say one more thing. As I've said in the last podcast, and I'm going to keep repeating it throughout this whole podcast thing, we are all a big we're all a big community. We'll support each other. If you need my help, do message me. If you need anyone musical theatre wise help, whether it's a friend, we're always here to help you, because we're one of the most kindest and we're the most loyal and caring community that you will ever find, in my opinion. Isn't that true?
Yep.
Completely true. Okay, guys, so that's it for the podcast. I will see you guys all next week on Theatre's Hidden Helper, Autism, Musicals, and me. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.